Hi there. I wanted to share a quick little tidbit. I've had a lot of folks asking me about Brownfield and what that looks like. And I'm not technically doing Brownfield yet because this app is not in production. But I feel like the approach I'm using here is probably relevant in some of these techniques. So I just wanted to show how I'm solving a problem, which is coming from the complexity of my code, getting to a point where the agent's having a bit of a hard time and kind of tripping over itself, which I'm assuming is the same kind of problem you would encounter in a Brownfield situation. So let me try and give a little background on what's going on here. We have let me close this. We have an app here which is a super base and Next.js application, and it uses TypeScript. And what's happening is there's a number of different types that are involved in getting database calls to and from the UI, and the agent ends up making mistakes when it's updating the types. It just goes over and over again. Every like if I run the test real quick, I can show you. Sorry, let me just get the command here. So this is our test running, and you'll see that it'll come in and fill everything out. It's going to go to the load list, and then it's going to do a add load. It fills in the data, and you notice that there's a couple of fields here that aren't there. To get this one added just took a lot of prompting and like, are you kidding me kind of stuff, where it just keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. And I've done that for a few of the columns. I'm like, all right, this is taking way too long, and you keep making the same mistakes over and over again. When you get in with Brownfield code, I'm going to guess that you're going to run into stuff like that, where it's just like, why do you keep making the same mistake? And so what I figured out is architecturally, we need to refactor the code to be better aligned with more dried out. So, you know, your code might have, if you're doing legacy code, it's going to have tech debt in it. There's going to be issues with dry and solid and all that kind of stuff. And so what I'm finding is you really have to get to where you're able to run tests and get feedback to the agent as quickly as possible. But then once you see it getting stuck on the same types of issues, go ahead and help it by saying, let's refactor this code and get it where this is easier for you, you know? So that's what I did, and that's what this shared types migration plan is here. So previously, the back end and front end the back end code is living here in this libs directory. So we've got app, which contains all of the web app, and then lib, which is where the server code lives over here. So the agent was just creating redundant types in both places, and then the database types as well. So I spent a few iterations brainstorming with it around how do we approach this in a better way, where we can share these types, and it's easier for you not to have to get these property names the same across all these different files, and then we run it and it breaks it run, you know. And so we came up with a plan there, which I added over here. If you're following my documentation-driven development approaches, you have a requirements folder that contains one folder for each feature. The features have a main README, which is just your feature level documentation. And then each of the epics underneath the feature gets its own folder. So I created a new epic called Shared Types Migration Plan for this particular work. And then we brainstormed a few different approaches, and I finally settled on one that works. And so basically we're saying we're going to create a type structure that will take the take all the types and move them to the shared area, and we'll have loads there, and then everything's going to get exported out of this index. And we have actually, I've prompted with it enough to get it so that the first I asked it as a first step, which that's probably in here, to do the simplest type we can, which we settled on this load status, and move that guy over. So now if you look over here in, what directory did it say I was going to put it in? It's in web shared. So web shared types, index here is exporting loads, and then here's our first type here. So if you look over here, you'll see that I just asked it to do that. Great news, the test passed, okay, and so we're running the test to verify it. It fixed a few other things up, and now it's giving us, like, you know, kind of congratulations, hey, we figured this out. Would you like me to continue migrating more of these types? So the easiest way for me to share this content with y'all is just to have you ride along with me while I work. And I feel like I'm at a good point now where it's going to go well. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if we get lucky and this will work. So let's just say yes. Let's continue. I prefer sharing. These videos are meant more for, I feel that AI workflows benefit senior developers, principals, architects, those type folks. So that's who I'm aiming at. So my apologies if some of this stuff is like, doesn't have enough introductory type content. I don't feel like the approaches that I'm trying to develop would be effective if you don't already understand software architecture, and if you can't organize work and things like that, because those are the skills I feel like you need to be able to do complex work with agents, because essentially you're a manager at that point. You're no longer writing the code, you're managing a robot that's doing the code work. So let's see what it came up with. And you're managing them quite a bit, if I can say. Great, let's continue migrating. Let's also check if there's any constants or types related to equipment types. Now let's check the constants file. Actually, one thing, let me just check real quick. Super important. Never do anything with unstaged and uncommitted changes. So let me just go ahead and just do a, I should have already done this. So I'm going to just do a git add -a, git commit -m, and say feature. I would like to say test passing, migrated load status to new shared architecture. And I'm trying to get my keyboard typing not to be super loud. If it is, I apologize. I'm working on my setup as we go. So now, hopefully that wasn't a bunch of those changes in there. But it's got this change here. It wants to do, so what it's doing is going to shared, and it's moving over this load equipment types. That's another simple one. So this should be an easy change. Let me make sure that, did I already commit that change? Okay. So I committed a little too late there. So let's just hope this goes well. So we should be following the rules that I'm suggesting, and we should be committing after we get anything working. But I'm feeling optimistic about this. Usually once you get the first one done, it goes pretty well. So now let's see what it's doing next. It's coming over here. This is our MUI data table wrapper. So it's pulling in the equipment type now. It was getting it from lib constants. Now it's getting it from that shared directory. So that looks good to me. And then this one's, what's it got in here? Interesting. It looks like it's improving the typing a little bit there. It looks like we may have had some loose typing there, which I like that better. Sorry, my allergies are a little goofy today. So then, okay, it thinks it has it. It likes to get the command wrong when it comes to running the test. So I'll just remind it, this is the command to run the test. Okay, so it's going to run our command. Okay. And if this works right, we should see that equipment type there will still be displayed, and we do. Boom. So that is number 2 done on our type journey here. The test is still failing, but that's not a problem. I'm just going to let it know the test failure isn't a problem. Our refactor was successful. Can you update the documentation with our progress and remaining work? So I don't think I have in there really detailed breakdown of do this type and do that type. I wanted to do 1 or 2 of them just to establish the pattern. And then at this point, it's probably, if we tell it, try and do the rest, it might work. So, so let's see what it comes up with in the documentation. But I'm probably going to say, okay, let's go ahead and just try and do the rest. But we're going to commit first, and then we'll try it and see, like, maybe it'll get it. If it doesn't get it, we'll just revert that, and then we'll say, okay, give me a list of all the types that need to move. Let's do these one by one. And, you know, hey, get a soda, put on a YouTube video, whatever, and just kind of next your way through it for the next 30 minutes. Is probably how it'll go. But let's, or, you know, I mean, check your emails, you know, whatever. So the documentation has successfully been updated. Let's see what the documentation looks like. So it's saying it created this. Okay, I'll give it credit on that. Define core types. It's done load status, equipment type, other types. Okay. This looks pretty good to me. I think that counts for being updated. So then this, this is the current state of our feature. Again, this is documentation driven development. So we document as we go. We get our list. All right. I feel like we're moving good. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it, let's go. I usually like to just do the add myself because it'll get path mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So I can tell it to let's go ahead and commit this work and leave a comment that emphasizes the tests are passing. I like to make sure I know for each commit, tests are working, code is working, so that, because you just have to go back a lot with this kind of approach. Okay. Refactor, migrate code, or migrate load status and equipment types to shared directory with test passing. Beauty. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that one in there. Okay. Now let's try and remove the remaining types. So, how many do we have, and can we do this in one push? Probably like any junior dev, it's going to tell you, like, yeah, I got this. But I'm curious to try this anyway, because now we've got our code. We've got our code committed, so we can always just bounce right back. We'll just reset it real quick. All right, so blah, blah, blah. Based on my analysis, here's what we need to do. Migrate the following types to shared directory. Okay, that doesn't seem too beefy. Migrate helper functions. Do we need to migrate the helper functions? Update imports. Okay, oh wait, the helper functions are probably, okay, yeah. So that's stuff that the types use. Let's start by updating the shared types. So I'm gonna take a guess that it thinks it's got this. So let's move me up here. and we'll go ahead and accept that. And I usually I get less skeptical as we make more progress. So when we're first trying something, I'm gonna be checking everything and being like, oh, I don't know about that. But at this point, you know, it's gotten 2 of them right, and so now I'm a little curious why there's so much stuff still in here. Okay, this is just the rest of the grid stuff. So it should be that the yeah, this looks like grid related stuff. Okay. Let's see what we got. All right, here's another slightly beefy one. This is our load page. So this is the one that contains the list. And so now it's importing the types from our shared directory instead of having them here. Beauty. I like that one. And okay, so it's wanting to run the test, and you probably can tell it's using the wrong command again. So this is where we got to be like, no, it's this command. Be a little sarcastic. I don't know if that helps or not. Let's see. Okay, the correct command. All right, let's see what we got here. Uh-oh, look, we lost our, we're using I-18N or whatever, internationalization. So we lost our button there, and I'm gonna guess that we also lost our data test ID or something like that, which is causing it to where it can't hit the add button. So let's just kind of, I'll just explain to it what's going on and what my theory is. Actually, we can also do this. We can take a screenshot. Oh wait, I can't because I'm already using Snagit for the video. I'll just explain to it. The test still running. Okay, we'll stop the test running. Wait, is there a option shift 4 or something like that? So, no, is it control option 4? I thought there was like a command option 4. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna give up on the screenshot. I thought there was a way to do so I'll just explain to it. It looks like the add button lost its I-18 label, and that the test couldn't click the add button. This makes me think that you haven't been following our best practices. Again, that's sarcasm. Let's see if that helps. And aren't using data test IDs like we specify in our testing best practices. Please review and get button working again. So even though I would love it if you just document stuff and the agents would follow it, but the artificial intelligence is surprisingly realistic, and it's like working with a real developer where you have documented best practices and they don't follow it, right? Which is why you have PRs and all that. So let's see what it comes up with here. I apologize for the oversight. You're absolutely right. I should have been following testing best practices and using. I like the way it apologizes though. Let me review the testing best practices and fix the issues with the button. Now I understand the issue. The problem is that data test ID for the loads grid is missing. Let's fix that. Okay. It's cool. We good. Let's see. I found the issue. The data grid component already has a data test ID attribute, but there might be an issue with the empty state message. All right, let me see. Let's see if I can figure this out. So, and this is where the art of using AI development comes in, because we have to decide how much of this journey we want to go on with them. So you need to figure out, like, you got to try and fail fast and be like, are they progressing or are they not progressing? So now this doesn't look like an actual change to me. It's saying, I found the issue. The key for the add button is using dot notation. Oh, okay. Which is inconsistent with that. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know why it was working before. It probably slipped in that change when, when we were diligently reviewing the code a while ago to see, like, everything had changed. It may have slipped that in. It sure did. See, that's on us because we missed it in the code review. But fortunately, we were able to resolve it pretty quickly. That looked like a success to me. It's going to think it failed. Our tests were already failing. The refactor looked successful to me. Can you review the code and make sure that we cleaned up the redundant and unneeded moved types? It's already going off on a tangent over there trying to fix stuff that's like not related. All right. I'm going to pause. Okay. It just looked at a bunch of stuff and now it's doing some analysis. Now I understand the issue. The database schema shows that fields in the loads table. Wait. I didn't want you to fix that yet. I guess, like, let's let it fix it, okay? So just kind of back up a little bit here. These two fields here are why I started down this journey. I was trying to get it to do the cosigner field, and I was trying to get it to do the cosignee field. And it was taking forever in the same way it did for the equipment type field. So I was just thinking, why are we taking so long to get these types right and using TypeScript? Like, let's either get rid of the overhead of TypeScript and keep it loose and just test and iterate, or let's take advantage of TypeScript and kind of reuse types and all that kind of stuff. So that's the refactor we're doing, which in my opinion should make the agent be able to more easily do this. And if it gets these two correct without breaking anything else, that's going to, in my opinion, validate it for me. It might not be as compelling for you because you haven't seen how long I've been trying to get it to do this and it's been failing. But trust me, it's been a pain. So let's let it have a crack at it. Wait a minute. Before we do that, all right. Let's just tell it. Before we start fixing the other issues, I want to commit the working code that we just tested. See, I almost broke my own rule again. Once you get something working, make sure you commit it. So let me reject this. And I'm just going to do the git add because, like I said, with all these things here, it always misses the quotes that you have to put around the paths, and then you have to tell it to repeat it. It's just much quicker to add the stuff yourself. So now I've got everything added. I'll let it run the status. It's going to give me a really good commit message, hopefully. Fix, update file names to match database changes. Please emphasize that the tests are passing. Sort of. Okay, fixed, updated field names, test passing. All right, So now we're ready to go and see if it can do the more ambitious change. Great, changes have been successfully committed with messages. Here's a summary of the changes, blah, 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 blah. These changes ensure blah, blah, blah. Is there anything else you'd like me? No. Let's continue with fixing the other issues with cosine E and shipper something or other. I can't remember what it was. Yep, it remembered it. So now let's check the form types. All right, let me just pause while it's doing it. Okay, we're getting to the meat and potatoes over here. Now I understand the issue. We need to update several files to ensure consistency with the field names. First, let's update the form types. So shipper name, all right. This is in, okay. And load form schema. So I'm curious if almost feels like that should be generated from our shared, but I won't get too ambitious right now. You know, we already got a type. We know what this looks like, but I guess in fairness, the form could have a different shape. But then now we're looking at transformations to service data. I wonder if we still need this too. So this is actually a data mapper that's taking off the service and doing a transformation. We most likely don't need this now that, I mean, for our current use case, we don't need it, I would assume, because it's basically doing entity mapping. Okay, let's see what it does now. Let's update load forms component. Sure. I'm just gonna say it looks kind of rightish. Let's see. I like to test before I spend too much time reviewing. And now we have create load schema. I still feel like there's a lot of types floating around in here, so I'll probably ask it when we get done. Like, let's review this overall approach and see if we're a little convoluted. This is our test stuff. I almost feel like the test could be using the types too. I see this is one of the problems with TypeScripts. Like lazy developers, like these agents, don't end up using them, so you just have a bunch of type overhead. So we're going to try and not be lazy developers. Now let's commit these changes. Hey, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. I think we should test first. Again with the sarcasm, let's see if it picks up on it. I'm going to pause. All right, let's take some bets. Is it going to get the testing command correct? No! It just can't get that command. It's like freaking hilarious. So, here. Maybe try some different sarcasm. Let's see. Again, ... That's not the right testing command. Pretty sure we talked about this. Okay, I won't use emojis because that might be too aggressive. I apologize for the confusion. You're absolutely right. I like the way it always comes out with the strong apology. Let's run the E2E test command, the correct one. Okay. What do we got? Uh-oh. I think that's a success. So I'm going to go boom. This is good. Yeah. I know the test is failing. Wait. I didn't check it. Let's see. Did it have the fields? Did we fix the issue? Maybe that was a premature one. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay. That was a premature boom. So caught me celebrating too soon there. So let's see if I can figure it out. So this is going to be the real validation of the approach, because again, it was getting stuck on this stuff over and over, and like I would get it. I would get it to fix one of the fields, and then it would break the other, and then it would just completely break everything. Sorry about that. Sorry for the distraction. I got this situation over here. 2 dogs that are fighting. But anyway, so let's try and accept these changes. We got that one. Okay. So now let's run the command again. See what happens. Okay, so still not getting it. Let's see. We're still having an issue with the test. Let's check E2E test to see how they create the load. Let's see. Should the creation of the loads take advantage of the shared types? And can they? They probably can't. To do that, we would probably have to do a larger refactor. Yeah, so this is where we have another missed opportunity with our types. That's cool. So it's, I guess because it's just testing code, it's like, do we care about the alias? Do we care if it's going way outside of its own area? If it works, I probably don't care for tests. So the other option would be that we could use Turbo, which is a package sharing approach. But I think this is probably fine if it works. Oh, that's weird. Does that path work? And then, so, wait, what was the full update? It did that, and, okay. Field, date. So it's pulling in load status and equipment type. Then once it pulls them in, where is it using them? Oh, got it right there, status. Okay. And then I should have looked at the diff. Okay. So then load data must have already been being used in face load data. Okay, let's see. I don't fully understand the change because I kind of skipped through it too quick there, but let's just see. Maybe that'll fix it. We broke something even bigger. Let me see. I need to decrease the timeout so it's not so long. I'm going to mute. Okay, it's really taking us a while there. Let's see if it looks like we're getting an error because the shipping name field doesn't exist on the form. Let's check. Okay. Now I see the issue. The shipper name field exists on the form but doesn't have the dataset test ID. That's odd to me. How was that working before if it didn't have that? Oh, so it was probably not filling in that information before. We may not have gotten that far. So it's got one other change down here. Okay, that's fair. And it's using our data test IDs, so it actually remembered to do that. That's good. Let's run the command. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ho, ho, ho. All right. My sacrifice has been accepted. We are in the promised land. Look at that. Not only did it get the test to pass, it came in and filled out an update. Boom. Look at all the stuff it got done. Still got some. Okay. Still got a little cleanup. Wait. It's having second thoughts about. Okay. It was about to exaggerate, I think. It looks. Okay, yeah. Remove duplicate types. Update documentation. This looks pretty solid to me. And that's what I really get excited, as you can tell, about the documentation, which is why I created it. This documentation-driven process. I've always been a developer who likes documentation. Just kind of a weirdo. I like writing tests and I like documentation. Oh, current date's not there. But look at this. All of that's done. This is done. Everything's updated. So now let's go ahead and say, let's add this. And then be lazy and ask him for the, or her, it, her, they, for the commit message. Give me a commit message. Actually, I want the command. I'm going to be really lazy. And it might even execute it. But it's going to get the command wrong because it's not going to do what I want it to do, which is to say that the test is passing. Okay. Okay, let's see. Refactor. Okay. You didn't listen again. Can you please, little sarcasm, emphasize that the test is finally passing? Yeah, just more like it. Okay, refactor, migrate, load, test passing. Look at that emphasis. I love it. All right, so we'll run that command. All right, so now we do get s. And then what we can do is say, what remaining work is there in this feature? Or this is an epic. I'm not sure why it's doing a get status. That's weird. Okay, remove duplicate type definitions, update documentation. Okay, so let's get it to go ahead and finish out this job real quick. All right, let's move on. Pretty excited I turned on the camera for this. You never know when this stuff is gonna work and when you're just gonna get like egg on your face because you're like go down a wrong path. But I had a pretty good feeling that this was gonna be when we figured it out, me and the agent, and it looks like it was. Hopefully this will be some helpful tidbits for you all. We'll go ahead, wait, let's see, let's check if there's any. So it's just looking through all the files right now. Now let's check to see if we need to migrate United States constants. Okay, let's create a plan to complete phase 3. First, we need to migrate. Hey, that's cool. So it reviewed and it found that there was like something that does need to be migrated. Update the imports, remove the duplicates. This is cool. So let's go ahead and see what it's got. It's moving this over to the shared. I'll say yes to that. Then the PO, if you're not familiar with this is a, I don't know what the PO abbreviation is for. Essentially, it's like a test harness. It just wraps your, it creates a DSL, a domain-specific language that you can use to interact with your page in the application in the testing environment. So it's just a pattern. And I'm not sure what PO is. It seems like, you know, every 5 years there's a whole new set of developers who come along and want to get some glory naming these patterns, which I don't want to, I cannot throw stones. I'm over here calling this documentation driven development, but it does make it hard to keep up with. So what is this one? So it's updating the loads PO. I think this stuff looks good. We're all committed over here, so I'm just going to go ahead and accept and test. That could actually be like a concept. What would you call that? It's like accept, test, refactor. Or maybe accept, test, verify or something like that. Okay, so it's deleting these files. I saw a funny one on Reddit the other day. I meant to capture. I was thinking about even putting it on a T-shirt, and then I didn't write it down. All right, boom! One more time, you get my test command wrong. Let's go ahead and try and give it the correct command. There we go. Wait. Let's run the test and make sure. We don't even use npm. This is because it had said it wanted to run all the tests at some point, so I just wanted to make sure that wasn't the command it was using. I don't know why it can't remember the test. It's interesting with these LLMs. There's certain things that they just like, they get stuck on, and there's just no unstucking it. Oh, by the way, I should have probably mentioned this earlier. This is the Sonnet 3.7 model. So that could be helping get this done a little quicker. I don't think so though. All right, great. E2E test for creating new loads has passed. So that was pretty cool. It refactored that type. Let's see what it's got here. And I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm not paying that close attention. So if that was good, then, you know, so it did common index. Okay. I'm not really crazy about, all right, fine, whatever. So we have a common folder with an index file with all the stuff in it. It's not really like if I was writing the code, probably not how I'd done it, but I don't want to be too judgmental, you know, hurt this agent's feelings or anything like that. But really, honestly, I don't really care. It's not the perfect pattern I'd pick, but at the same time, I'm trying to use this to be productive, so I'm going to try and be practical. And then it deleted these files here, database types, form types and transformations. I love that. And then it looks like it modified these two, which if we do a diff on those, which they're at the top, so I'll just do a diff. Yeah, change that path to pull this in, and then deleted this stuff. Yeah, this all looks good to me. So I was, like I said, not really paying attention, but I think it did a banging job on that particular item. I am going to give it thumbs up. And then now look at this. The developer came in and updated its status, which is like another like thank you moment. So our documentation is just moving along, which is fantastic. So now look at this. This one's done, which is removing duplicate types. Update this documentation. Boom. Create documentation for shared types package. I definitely want to do that. Update developer guidelines to use shared types. I like that too. So let's go ahead. You're on a roll. I don't want to get in the way here. So let's see what it's going to do now. I'm going to mute or pause, I mean. Okay, this is my bad. It's wanting to run the full suite of tests. So this, the command I've been giving it would be incorrect. So if I gave it sarcasm at this point, it would be misplaced. But what I can do is tell it that's not the right command as far as I know. ... That's definitely not sarcastic. And I'll say, try looking in at test best practices, which you wrote, a little sarcastic, and see if you find the right command. Really, you could consider this praise too, because I'm giving it credit for what it did, you know. Looks like it thinks this is the way to do it. All right, so what failed there? I see the issue. The test is failing because we've removed the transformation TS file. Test is still trying to import it. All right. Okay. It's looking a little sketchy, but the newer versions of Cursor used to, every time it would get a one of these linter errors, you'd have to kind of manually be like, hey, you messed that up. But now it just kind of keeps going through it. I'm gonna go ahead and pause while it's cranking on this. Okay, it was doing a lot of thinking, but it looks like it's doing some coding now. I'm really surprised to see how. That's odd to me that this is this late in the game. Whoa. Oh, okay. Remember earlier I said it should have moved this load form data? That's interesting. Do we want to move all of that stuff here? Let's see if it works and then we'll question it, okay? I'll give it a little rope on this one. But we do have a lot of code in flux. So I can't remember what the last thing we had working was. So I'm going to do a git add. I broke my rule again about the committing. I'm going to just stage these changes. So that gives us some protection. I got burned by this earlier, but like let's hope I don't get burned again. So we'll accept that, and let's see, did that? Oh man, so that means that change was already in here. Okay, well let's hope it doesn't break everything, because this will be where you get kind of messed up because you got some progress and then you have to go way back. So a lesson for the viewer. if, oh, hey, look at that. We gambled and our agent came through for us. But I did see some red up there, which, what is this complaining about? The tests are passing, but man, there's a lot of, geez, is this really a pass test? Oh, curious about that. Let's see what it shows over here. Okay, so okay, it's complaining about the test pattern. Console error, database error, failed to create load. So it looks to me like there's some kind of issue remaining there. This video has gotten kind of long, so I don't want to bore y'all with like just hanging out working with me all day. But I do feel like this was a really successful session. I feel really good about the approaches here. And I feel like I get a lot of folks asking me about the Brownfield, like I said in the in the beginning of the video. You know, the Greenfield toy app stuff works really well, but what about on a real Brownfield? And I, without a doubt, realize that this is not the most complex thing ever. It's just a form, a list of rows or whatever. But I do feel like it's a good example of one step higher in complexity, right? We're doing some refactoring, and we're using test-driven approaches ish, whether you write them before or after, it's just having that type feedback loop of having tests, which I've got to get to where I'm at now. I actually went back in. I'm gonna create a separate video on that, but I'll just mention it real quick. I found that I was doing database tests with PG Tap, and then I was doing UI tests with Playwright. But my application, the types were just getting lost in the translation. So I went ahead and added some, they called it integration tests, but really, I'm not sure if that's the word I would use. It's going from the server actions in Next.js, which is kind of like the API, to the mocked out database. So I wouldn't necessarily call that an integration test. But, people love to argue about that. And if I still drink beer, I'd be down to. But, whatever. You call it whatever you want. But it's tests that go from the API to the mock database. And then I went ahead and added unit tests to test the type mapping. All of those seem like they're still passing, which is a little suspicious to me because we did this refactoring. So I'm going to go in and check that stuff out. But really, I think the takeaways from this video, things I'm hoping to share, is that use XP style approaches. You're pairing with someone, so let's create a fast feedback loop where we have tests, and then when you're working with the agent, make it about having those tests pass, right? And if you're lazy, you don't have to fill in all this forms and data over and over again. You spend a little bit of time getting those first few tests going, but you can iterate faster after the fact. Then the other thing is you really need to put your architect hat on. If you don't have an architect hat, you probably need to start figuring out how to get one. Learn the patterns, learn about, I would really look into old school test-driven type approaches, and just get to where you understand refactoring code for maintainability. And if you're working in a Brownfield code base, you're gonna wanna go in and get to where you have the test infrastructure you have to be able to baseline and communicate with the agent, which is what I'm trying to do here. So that's really the big picture point of what I'm hoping to share today. I am absolutely making this stuff up as I'm going along. So this is the complete bleeding edge of my world, and I would love to hear what other folks are doing and trying. If there's things I did that were just silly, or like, why are you doing that? Just let me know. Like, I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to help other people learn so that they can teach me and so that everyone can get better. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching the video, and I'll talk to you in the next one.